Eugene Amo-Dadzie. Eugene, following up from your 993, one, your phone must have been buzzing. Two, I don't know how surreal this is. And three, the reaction to it has been incredible, hasn't it?
Indeed. Yeah, my phone's been hot, as you can imagine. Literally since Friday, it's been pinging off social media, Twitter. I don't even use Twitter. Honestly, it's been crazy. And I think for me, it's like you're only going to do it for the first time once. So the biggest thing for me right now is just really basking in the moment, really just trying to enjoy it. God willing, I'm going to do this many, many, many more times, but I'm only going to get the first one once. So I'm really just trying to soak it all in and just, I'm just kind of in awe of God and just like, this is crazy. Like I keep telling people I'm a chartered accountant who just happens to run track. I call myself the world's fastest chartered accountant, the world's fastest accountant. I'm hoping that there ain't any other accountants out there that could beat me. I'm taking on all comers, like I said before. So, it's a crazy moment. It's crazy. I don't know how to describe it. It almost feels like I know it's me who's done it. And maybe this might be a bit of imposter syndrome or whatever. I don't know how to describe it. But it almost feels like I'm celebrating something that my best friend has done. I'm very much aware it was me who's done it. Thank God. But it's a bit of a weird feeling because you pray about these things, you hope for these things, you dream about these things, they happen, and then you kind of don't really know what to do.
Has it sunk in that you are the joint fourth fastest Brit ever, and it's the joint sixth fastest time ever as well in British history?
I don't think it's sunk in yet. Like I said, I'm aware of the facts. My missus also said to me that I am currently at number 76 on the all-time list, world list. So there's only ever been 75 faster times in all of human existence. And I keep saying all these things to myself to try and get it to sink in. I'd say it probably hasn't sunk in just yet. But like I said, I think I'm definitely giving myself that time to really just, rest in the moment and enjoy the moment. I think in this life you have to. Do you know what I mean? Because those moments, sometimes it kind of feels like they come and then they go, and trials is coming up, so I'm very much focused on making sure that I go there and take care of business as I need to, God willing. But I think I'm trying to just comprehend what's just happened.
You were just saying to me that it doesn't concern you. You're going to thrive off the fact that finishing inside the top two, you will be on the plane to Budapest at the World Championships. Now, you had your first indoor championships in Istanbul when we last spoke back in March, but obviously if you do finish inside the top two, you are going to be at World Championships representing Great Britain outdoors. But then again, you are going to be up against Arnell Hughes, Reece Prescott, and you said that's a challenge that you would love to accept.
Absolutely, that's what it's about. Like I always say to people, I just want to have a dust up with these guys. My journey to this point hasn't been plain sailing by any stretch of the word. Like last year I was injured, so I missed the UK trials, so I didn't get a chance at going to the Commonwealth Games or the World Championships or the European Championships. But I remember as I sat there watching trials, all I wanted was just to be in the mixer. Once you're in the mixer, anything can happen. I just want to have a dust up with these guys. These are the names that have been at the top of British sprinting for some time now. Thank God I've now joined that crew. And like I said, I just want to let's go to war. Let's have a fun. Let's have a dust up. Let's see who comes out on top. I'm relishing that battle at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be scared by it. Some people have said, oh, maybe there's a bit of a target on my back now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not the type of person to be to shy away from a battle. I think I'm very much ready to do what it needs to be done. You know what I mean? My eyes are firmly fixed on, on those objectives for sure.
And we were saying earlier on, and you've said that you've actually received a lot of messages about this, that if there was a 2 meter per second tailwind, for example, that potentially would have been faster than Linford Christie's British record. But you were saying that now is the point of backing up. It's not a one-off event. 993 is great, but it's now being consistent. And your coach, you were saying, said that it was coming as well.
Yeah, I feel like for me, again, I'm not a result kind of guy. I know we're in a sport where you're getting judged by how far you can throw, how high you can jump, and what the clock stops at when you cross that line. For me, I'm process oriented. So people come, these hypotheticals, if, and I don't get drawn into that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, when it's meant to happen, it will happen. Do I believe I can break the British record? If they ask me that question, by the grace of God, why not? And that's the thing. I don't think enough people ask themselves that kind of question. there will be a queue of people with many reasons as to why they can't do something. And I'm sure there'll be many people telling me why I can't run faster than 987. But the way I am, and some people might think I'm deluded or whatever, but shout out to Jazz Sawyers, her speech at the European Team Champs, the European Indoor, in Istanbul. A little delusion goes a long way. And as a man of faith, that resonated with me. And Jazz reached out, and I even said the same thing to her.
And she jumped 7 meters at that championship.
Exactly. Do you know what I'm trying to say? She'd been told, she told us that she'd been told her whole career she wasn't the right size, she's too small, whatever it may be. So people are always gonna have reasons why you potentially can't do something. Your job in this life is to not subscribe to that. So anybody who ever done anything great believe they could do it. So I'm not standing here talking about I'm gonna go break Linford's record, but God willing, if it does happen, it would be because I believed it could happen, and I've worked hard for it.
Did you feel like going into that race you were on the cusp of the time like that? Because when people saw that time, they were like, oh wow, that is crazy. And obviously you have improved by literally 1 second from 1093 to 993 in 4 years.
Yeah. No, I would say no in a sense of, did I believe I could run sub 10 one day? Absolutely. Did I think I was going to do it in Austria? I guess every time I line up, I pray that I'm going to run my fastest time ever, that I'm going to PB. My PB was 10:05 from last year in Newham. And when I lined up in Austria, I had just come back off the back of running in Prague. And for anybody who saw the conditions of that race, like I said to you a little bit earlier, in this sport, people only see the time, he ran 10:21.
Yeah.
They don't know what I ran 10:21 in. They don't know what the conditions were like. They have no clue of the context of the result, only the result. So for us internally as a team, we knew we were in a good place because of what we've been doing in training and because of those runs in not so great conditions. And our sport is so driven and dictated by conditions. So for me, it wasn't so much I thought like it was going to happen that day, but it's about, like I said, process, taking care of all the things that I can take care of, trusting God, and when it's meant to happen, it will happen.
Like you were saying, you're not focusing on times, it's about technique.
Absolutely.
And then once you've done the technique, the times will follow from that. Could you
100%.
explain more about that kind of mindset, that process, and kind of how that works from training and translates to the track as well when it comes to competition?
Yeah, I think for me, like, to give you some like facts and numbers and figures, when I first came to my current coach, Steve Fudge, I did the 100 meters in about 48 steps. So there's a lot of frequency going on there. And when I ran 993, it was in 45 steps. So that means that
the strides are getting longer.
Right, but I've not done that by sacrificing my natural skills, which are I'm more of a frequency-based runner. Some guys like Bolt or whoever else, they're more stride length kind of guys. I think Bolt's run the 100 in about 41 steps before, which is insane. But that's the big man, the legend.
That's the same for you. Yeah.
Indeed. So yeah, for me, it's very much how do we improve technically. And anybody who's been watching my story, I'm one of those guys, I'm not a gatekeeper of anything. I put my stuff out there, you can see it. You can see the technical changes in how my mechanics have, progressed over time. So that's what I'm all about. I don't worry about how fast I'm running the times in training. I worry about how I'm executing it. And it's very much trying to create a model that then when I'm in the right situation and everything lines up, the wind is behind you, it's warm, you can run a time that you're really capable of running because you executed the run well. So yeah, I think I've run that time now. It probably wasn't a surprise to my coach. It wasn't a surprise to me because I could believe it could happen, and I've worked for it, at the end of the day.
I mean, we talk about, how many strides and how many steps. Femke Bol's been quite open about how many steps she takes up to a 7th hurdle recently. She's been trying to go from 15 to 14 strides. And I'm guessing that's similar to yourself. Have you been looking to kind of decrease the amount of, steps you do in 100 meters, and actually that pays dividends? Is that the sole reason? I guess obviously it's not the S&C comes into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think engine wise, because the thing people need to understand about me, obviously I started the sport late, which has its benefits in the sense of I don't have the wear and tear on my body is not the same as somebody who started when they were 12 years old or whatever. But then it also means that my conditioning is maybe the conditioning of a 16-year-old or was, but then I've got the talent to, So there's this constant thing in my team of bridging the gap between my lack of exposure to high-speed running and the strength and conditioning aspect of the sport and the talent that I obviously have. So I think for me, clearly I have a much better engine now. I'm much better conditioned. Big shout out to my coach, Jermaine, Franchise Fit, who's got all of our team in incredible shape to be able to handle that type of running. My coach said to me that he thought there was a point in that race that if I wasn't as well conditioned as I was, maybe I might have rotated or I might have lost it. But because of that good conditioning, I was able to stay on it. So I think now these things are important. You know what I mean?
And you were talking about in Istanbul the fact that actually starting at 26, now you're 30, you don't have the wear and tear of someone who's had shin splints, for example, when they're 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And that mindset would have helped. So certainly going into your background then, and you've mentioned a bit about, how you came from the decision being behind a desk in the city as an accountant to actually sprinting on the track. Explain more about that.
Yeah, I think one day I was playing football, Saturday League with one of my best friends, and I've always been a fan of the sport, so whether it's a local meet or a Diamond League World Champs, I'm going to watch it. And we were on our way home and we saw a local meet going on at Ashton Plainfield, which is the home of my actual club, Woodford Green. And we sat down and we watched it, and I think we saw the 100 metres, and I think that day it was won in like 11:3 or something. And my best friend Ben turned around to me and he said, I reckon you can put a pair of spikes on and beat these guys. And up until that point, my best friends had given me so much grief. If we had your talent, what we could have done with it, and that kind of stuff. And for a long time, it was enough for me to just tell myself I could have done it. I'd watch these guys at Olympics and things like that, and I'd say, if I had done it when I was younger. So to be honest, I was the guy on the other side of this who would tell myself I was a bit too old or that ship has sailed. But he literally just said to me, why did you never try this? And I turned to him and I said, I didn't have an answer. All the things that went through my head, maybe I'm going to get found out. Maybe I'm not as fast as I think I am. Maybe I start this sport, everyone's talented, and I realise I'm not as fast as I actually think I am. Maybe I couldn't have made it. And I think those maybe subconsciously stopped me from actually making a decision.
Was there like a moment when you kind of came into it where you thought, okay, I'm at home here, right here?
Probably when I ran 10.2. I think before, and the things even then, like I was never the person, when I ran 10.2, I wasn't thinking about running sub 10. It was just like, oh my gosh, I've just run I've just run 10.2, this is amazing. And then when I went 10.0, it was like, oh my gosh, I've just run 10.0. Like my not expectation level, should I say, but because I'm so process oriented and not thinking about the end result, like I said, I believe the result will take care of itself if you take care of what you need to take care of. So for me, yes, probably when I ran 10.2, I thought, okay, maybe there's something here. And my coach, he's great. He's obviously, he's coached some of the fastest sprinters this country's seen. James Asalu, Adam Jamili, he's coached some of these fastest guys. So he knows, he's seen talent. And he's telling me, look, there's something there. So I'm thinking, okay.
So how did you actually come together? How did you get together in the first place?
So you know what, and this is another thing I credit my coach with, is because he has a really good coaching eye. I think I ran 6:63 in 2020 at the Essex Championships, indoor championships here at Lee Valley. And at that time I was 27, and nobody really, like, if you look at my power of 10, you've got a random time from 2006, 12:1. There's nothing else there.
Yeah.
So I think Steve's whole thing, and what I credit Steve for, is the fact that he just wanted to know who on earth is this guy and what exactly is his plan in this sport. Who is he? What is he doing? And that's what I appreciate. So he reached out, we had a conversation, and he was just asking me, look, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? And he said to me at the time, I know you have no reason to leave your current setup because things are going well. But I think he knew what was going to happen and that we would end up linking back up again. So yeah, I got injured later on that season, and we spoke. He spoke about the things that he felt like I needed to do to be a 10.2 guy, and yeah, here we are.
And you talk about being, as I said, part-time accountant. You're a full-time chartered accountant.
That's right.
How do you balance up the time? And you probably had so many people ask you this, but an accountancy job is quite strenuous and it takes up a lot of hours in a day. And you were literally just chatting about there that you have to open your laptop sometimes in training sessions midway to be on a Microsoft Teams call or something like that. Yeah. How does the balance work out?
My wife is incredible. First and foremost, like when we got married 5 years ago, I hadn't even started track. So to now having to contend with me flying around Europe and things like that, she really holds the fort down at home. But my company too, so I work for a subsidiary of Barclay Group, and they've been phenomenal. My manager, my finance director, they, like, if I need to, take holiday to go to the European Indoor Championships in Istanbul at short notice, You know, they're ready to do that for me. You know, they allow me to work remotely. When I had a warm weather trip in Houston earlier on in this year, they let me take my work laptop and work remotely. You know, they really do accommodate this sport and understand the level that I'm doing it at, and they want to do everything that they can do to help me get their goals. I think they understand that a large part of my not job satisfaction, but just my well-being as a person is obviously being driven by being able to pursue that sport.
Yeah.
So they don't want to take that away from me, and they've always been very clear about, which is why my old finance director actually made a contractual provision for me to be able to have some time to train.
Oh wow, okay.
You know, he said, look, get this in your contract, because you can end up moving around the company and you don't know what could happen, so let's protect you. And that was his idea. You know, when I first moved to Steve Fudge, I needed buy-in from my FD at the time, because it was going to interfere with working hours, and they did that for me. So I think I've got a super supportive network of people that allow me to go out there and do what I need to do.
Like when I don't know if anyone from like your work, I don't know how big the company is or how big your department is, but I'm guessing you probably got quite a few messages from the accountancy world as well as the track and field world when you ran that time.
Yeah, so I actually shared it on LinkedIn, you know, because I use LinkedIn obviously for my professional work. So I actually shared a little bit of that on my LinkedIn, and you know, you get inundated with messages from people. You know, this is amazing, this is great. You know, some of my colleagues obviously who follow me on LinkedIn have seen it and they've reached out. You know what I mean? My old manager has reached out. My finance director, I saw, commented on it as well. You know, so for like everybody's very excited by it, and I think they are pleased with how good of ambassador I am for the company. So like I said, they do release me and grace me to go out there. And
so if you break the British record or you end up in the World Championships, do you get a bonus at work, or what's the game with that?
Hey, if you can speak to them for me, then maybe we can make that happen for sure. But no, honestly, it's already a bonus them being as supportive as they are, because I think in this day and age, maybe it's a bit unique to find a company to support you in that way.
Yeah, and just finishing off then, talking about money and sponsorship, like you're currently unsponsored,
unsigned.
Yeah,
sign me up.
What's the deal with that? Because most athletes who are running 9:93, and this is the thing about consistency, isn't it? You know quite well, if you repeat that time, if you end up at the World Championships, the chances are you are going to be signed by a brand. The probability is, and that's going to drive you on as well.
Yeah, look, I said to my wife, look, I'm doing this for the love, but if there's money on the table to be made, I'm going to make it. You know what I'm trying to say? So look, some people might say, surely somebody should have given this guy something. I think I have such a beautiful and unique story. It can be really, really powerful if the right platforms, the right people want to work with me and push that.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. Whichever brands, let's work. You know what I mean? I'm here, I'm unsigned. I ain't got no affiliation to anybody. There's a beautiful, amazing, unique story here. I'm currently ranked 4th time in the UK All List, 13th in the world, European and British lead. Let's work.
And last thing from me, from the fastest accountant in the world, because I would doubt there were many faster, to be honest. What's your message to anyone who's starting athletics at a later stage? Because we talk about people in industries, and I saw something earlier on about actors and actresses who have started late and won Oscars when they were kind of in their 50s, 60s, sometimes even 70s. With athletics, 26 is quite a late stage to start. What's your message to someone who wants to, you know, be in the mid-20s, let's say, and is thinking about, you know, taking it up?
Go for it. My message is go for it. I think what you need to understand is I want my story to be testament and to be evidence and proof that if you commit yourself to it, if you take care of the controllables that are in your hands, and if you genuinely believe that something is possible, God willing, it will find a way of happening, but you've got to believe it first. We've got a part to play. As you know, I'm a man of faith and I speak a lot about my faith, but this is not passive faith. This is active faith. I've got a part to play and I've got something to do here. So for anybody who may come across this and listen to this, whatever it is, whether you're in sport or outside, there's, like I said this on the same interview in March, there's no logic to my story.
Yeah.
You cannot apply logic to it, but somebody who was willing to put work in and believed and made things happen. So I just encourage everybody, whatever it is that you think you're too old or you're too busy to do, that's not the case. You just need to believe you can make it work. Everybody gets dealt a hand. I'm not looking over people's shoulders and saying, oh, I like the look of his hand. I like the look of his hand. No, this is the hand that I've been dealt, and I'm going to play the heck out of that hand. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to play the heck out of that hand, and by the grace of God, we're going to see great things. It's not necessarily going to be a journey of upward trajectory. People always say success kind of looks like this. There's ups and downs, and there's been that in my journey. But I promise you, it's going to be a beautiful journey, and you're going to grow so much from it. Everybody owes it to themselves.